Uncle Bill loved Halloween. In fact, when it was the Halloween season, he wasted no time and money in creating the creepiest Halloween-themed house in the neighborhood. It was common knowledge with all the kids that if you wanted genuine Halloween scares and sumptuous treats, all you had to do was stop by Uncle Bill's Halloween home. It's safe to say that Uncle Bill was the Halloween guy. It cannot, however, be said of his son, my cousin. John never liked Halloween, and he practically cringed whenever his dad began setting up his famous Halloween house. He hated hearing kids coming up to the house with their treat bags and greeting them with their garishly painted faces and cheap dollar store masks. "I don't see why you like to give them free candy," he once said. "They're just gonna rot their teeth." "You were like them once," Uncle Bill would say. "Don't take away their Halloween joy. Least you want to be haunted by the hooded treater." Again, with that silly story? Uncle Bill once told us a scary story when we were younger. He told us a story about a hooded trick-or-treater who would visit homes of angry, irritable neighbors on Halloween and frighten them. He was called the Hooded Treater, and what made him scary was that even if you gave him a treat, he would always be seen watching you from the window or even across the street. And if that wasn't scary enough, it's what's behind the hood that often did the trick. "That story is so lame, Dad," John would say. "There is no such thing as a hooded treater." Uncle Bill knew that there was no point in arguing with his son. He, however, asked John not to dampen the trick-or-treaters' mood when they came over. After hearing the story from Uncle Bill, I wish John had promised to do so. It was around 7:30 p.m. on Halloween, and Uncle Bill ran out of candies to give. So, he asked John to give out some of the candied fruit while he went to the pantry and refilled his candy bowl. John begrudgingly agreed to. John heard the doorbell ring, and carrying the tray of candied fruit, he lazily walked over and opened it. "Trick or treat." John looked at the costumed trick-or-treaters, and putting on a disinterested face, he handed out the candied fruit. "Where's Mr. Bill?" one of them asked. "Getting more candy for your cavities?" He grunted before closing the door in their faces. He walked back to the living room and continued to do what he was doing when the doorbell rang again. He groaned and picked up the candied fruit bowl and walked to the front door to open. Standing outside was a lone trick-or-treater, shrouded completely in a Grim Reaper costume. At least, that was how John described it. He couldn't see the trick-or-treater's face, as it was completely obscured by the costume's hood. "So what are you supposed to be?" John asked. The trick-or-treater said nothing, but held out a treat bag and said in a strange, deep tone, "Trick or treat." "That's a deep voice you got there," John said. "Don't you sound a little old to be a kid?" He dumped some candied fruit into the bag and then looked at the trick-or-treater, who just stood there without even looking up. "Well, aren't you going?" John asked in an irritated tone. The trick-or-treater lowered his treat bag and began to slowly walk away from the front door. John grunted and walked back into the living room. What was taking his uncle so long? He thought as he sat on the sofa and began to watch some TV when he noticed something odd in the window. He got up and walked over and saw the same hooded trick-or-treater looking at him from across the street. John frowned as he opened the window and called out to him to leave. "You got your treat, now go!" He closed the window and walked back to the sofa when the doorbell rang again. John opened the door and saw the hooded trick-or-treater once more standing at the front door. "What the?" John started. "Hey, you got your treat, what do you want?" "Trick or treat," the hooded figure said. John was furious. This kid wanted more candy. He leaned in to take a closer look at the treater's concealed face to give him a piece of his mind. What happened next can't be explained to this day. Uncle Bill had just finished refilling the candy and chocolate bowls when he heard my cousin scream from the living room. He ran towards the living room to find John in a fetal position, muttering inaudible words. When my uncle tried asking him what happened, all John could say was that the hooded treater showed him a trick, and it scared him so much that several strands of his hair had turned white. To this day, John dreads Halloween even more, but not because he hates it. He dreads it because he fears it.